just because of the sheer volume of it, there's like a significant.
So what kind of illnesses does this cause? Both the emissions from the incinerator itself and the landfill emissions. What specifically, what kinds of illnesses are we talking about? Cancer? I mean, you mentioned asthma, but are there a range of illnesses that it causes? And is there any evidence of this in around the Detroit incinerator?
Well, there's a whole range of different kinds of health consequences from it. That, as I mentioned, asthma is from the ground level ozone that's generated, but it complicates all the other cardiovascular disease and respiratory problems that people have from the emissions. The toxics that are composed in our trash, both from the incinerator and from the emissions from the landfill, are known carcinogens. You can't make a one-for-one correlation between an individual's health problem and the actual facility. Basically what it does is it increases the likelihood that any given person will develop a particular form of cancer, or a lot of the heavy metals, the lead, the mercury, they're neurotoxins, and they're particularly, children in particular are most susceptible to these, particularly the toxics, because their metabolism is taking in these materials and processing them through their growing body at a faster rate. And so that means that they're more susceptible to these toxics. So they're the most vulnerable population, then followed by the elderly, as being, having a weaker immune system to be able to fight off these problems. But it creates a whole range of things. I should say that one thing that is particularly unique to incinerators in terms of the emissions, and this is not true, say, for example, of a landfill, is the biggest concern for a lot of people is the creation of dioxins, which is a whole class of chemicals that are created when you burn any material that contains what's referred to as a halogen, which is a chlorine, fluorine, bromine. And so it creates this whole class of chemicals that are the most carcinogenic chemicals known to human beings. And they're created specifically because of the combustion, the burning of the trash. So for example, the biggest source probably is the plastic piping that people use in their homes, PVC, polyvinyl chloride. That chlorine in the plastic, when it's burned, contributes to forming this class of chemicals known as dioxins. And even though the emission controls are supposed to limit the creation of the dioxins, that may be true in the stack and in the pollution controls, but it's still part of the emissions that goes out of the stack, and it's still considered controversial as to whether those dioxins then form downwind as the emissions from the facility cool off.
So are there specific health problems